Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is
Good.
Kieran, and this is Fox Off RPG. So I'm joined here today by the guys at Black Lodge Games. And
We are
again, I want
happy
to
to
thank
be
you guys
here.
for coming on.
hmm
It's been brilliant. I've been watching you guys for like two and a half years now.
That's
So
about as long
Nice.
as
I'm
we've
a
been
little
making
bit of a
videos.
Thank you,
fanboy. Yeah, so maybe I think we should start with how did you guys actually come together to do your YouTube channel?
Oh
For anyone
man.
who doesn't know.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, like almost 15 years ago at this point,
Hmm.
we met through YouTube and a Facebook group of YouTubers called the YouTube RPG Brigade. And they were doing a convention online, basically. And I decided to run a game that was based off of a system of someone who's now a friend of both of ours, Andrew Wood. It's called Within the Ring of Fire, but I ran kind of a sci-fi variant of this, and Nick signed up for my game. And it was one of those situations where it's like, I have no idea, because all these games were broadcast on YouTube. They're all gone now.
Yeah.
But it was the kind of situation like I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have any good role players in this. So I made one of my friends sign up to make sure I had at least one. And then Nick, the second Nick opened his mouth, I was like, oh, thank God. Like, this guy's good. And so we just kind of became friends from there. And we played in some games over the course of the years.
Mhm.
And then a couple of years ago, we just started talking a lot, just talking on the phone for like hours at a time about role-playing games and the state of YouTube and all this stuff. And finally, we were like, we just need to do something about this. And so Nick came and visited in Austin for about a week, and we cooked up Black Lodge Games and started doing podcasts. And then eventually he moved here. So now we're obviously in the same place. And we've just had the pedal to the floor basically on making books and making games and playing games and making videos.
Yeah, because again, like I said just before we record, like the first video I saw of you guys was about the Toxic Maximilian D&D,
Yeah.
and I thought it was brilliant. I loved
That
it.
was
I've
a
been
good
watching
one.
his pretty much every video since then. A couple times I miss out or whatever, just life stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's. I think the response to that was hilarious. I still love it.
Yeah, people got very
I actually went back and
yeah.
looked at it a little bit there the other day, just curious. So
yeah, we definitely prefer the way that things used to be, and we want art in books where the people are beautiful and strong and heroic and all this stuff, and the sort of modern iteration of mini games doesn't really support that anymore. So we just we want we want the good times back, and we're making the good times come
We're
back.
bringing it back.
Yeah, I completely agree. Less Tumblr, more Conan.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's I think I actually had a Tumblr blog thing years ago,
Oh,
and it wasn't anything cringe. It was
Yeah.
like all to do with weightlifting,
yeah.
and
There
like
you
progress
go.
and
Okay.
shit I was doing back then.
Well, that's good.
It was manly.
I saw you talking to someone recently, and you said you pulled something like 585 or something crazy like that on a deadlift.
No, it was 529.
Okay, so you're the only gamer that we've met that can lift more than I can.
There you go.
Yeah,
And I
so
know
it's
there's more
180
out there.
kilos.
I don't have like
No, sorry, it's
crazy
200. It was
numbers.
240 kilos.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
529 pounds, and like
So in human
and a third.
numbers, that's
Something like that.
500 something.
Yeah, I actually hurt myself there, maybe a year and a half ago, a little more.
Mhm.
My left hand's fucked, like real bad. So my right hand,
man.
I can hold 180 kilos or so without the straps.
Mhm.
My left hand, I can hold 130, 140. I
Damn.
hyperextended them.
Mm.
That happened more than once. I used to play
Oof.
rugby, and I hurt him in kickboxing, and
Yeah.
then in the gym.
It is
So,
no
yeah,
surprise that you found our channel then.
Yeah. Yeah, my squat is pretty good as well. The most I ever got my squat was 190 kilo squat, which I think that's
That's a
400
lot.
pounds or something like that.
That's over 400 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, my bench is shit though.
Mhm. Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. But yeah, so you guys have done several books now. You have the Shucked Oyster.
Yeah.
You have
Yep.
your Cult of Saharis, is it?
Cults of
For
Zahak.
Mithras.
Yeah.
Sahag.
For
Yeah.
Mithras.
Right.
How did you guys decide you wanted to create your own books? Because obviously I know you talked about before that you want to have good things. You want normal men and action and interesting books out there. But what
Yeah, and
actually made you
interesting
come to
characters.
want to create it
Mhm.
and just put your stuff
Well,
out there?
it was kind of always the plan. Like we've always wanted to make role playing games and stuff like that, and we basically set out to build an audience on YouTube first before we started doing that, and then out of that, out of our YouTube videos, we were making it was supposed to be a comparison between Shadowdark and OSE, and it was a very boring video idea. And so we wrote this hook to it, and in the hook, the hook just ended up being the whole video. It was just this silly story about a Shadowdark character, because that was way more interesting to us than anything else. And so Nick came up with the idea of, he's on the run from his bookie, and so where does he go? He goes to the brothel, and then he came up with, he's like, well, what's it called? He said, the Shucked Oyster.
Yeah,
and
man.
after we made that video, we couldn't get the idea out of our head. It just kept snowballing.
Yeah, we had to go back to it.
Yeah. And so the original idea was that, okay, this is going to be a 20-page PDF, that you can just drop in. It'll be some throwaway thing. It'll be our first, dip in the water. And then it just spiraled out of control, and it ended up being more than 10 times longer than anticipated.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like
As these things can happen.
Yeah.
10.5 times the size of what you originally planned. Like it's absolutely brilliant. Like I mostly do solo play, but every now and then I'll have a few people I know. We'll jump on a Discord or something like that, and we'll play. How I introduced the Shucked Oyster into the game was I had everyone they went into a city, and they're looking around, and then they came across Father O'Malley, half drunk out of his brains, going on about demons and monsters taking over their city and the world, and everyone obviously everyone ignores him, and then they come after a while they come across Shucked Oyster, and it's already half burnt down, and you have Madame Vice, she's out on the street there, she's dead. She's burnt up. And then you have let me think I find the names here, Bronwyn and Svetlana.
Right. Yep.
Still trying to get some people, still to get some work. And everyone's like, what the hell is going on here? And you have the corpse collector, I can't remember his name top of my head.
Pleasant
Peter.
Yeah. Picking up some of the bodies, because I had it rolled out that one of the patrons caused the burning down of the oyster.
Yeah.
And we've after coming across, it's been several hours, it's still kind of smoldering away, and the players were like, what the hell is going on? And like they kind of ended up moving on, but then later on they end up going to a small town. It's like a medium-sized town, nothing crazy. And then they came across Father O'Malley again. I'm like, how did he get here before us?
Yeah.
And then they come across a weird building. Inside, they can see, looking outside, they see Madame Vice.
Yeah.
Looking through a window, smoking away. And you have the hookers around trying to get some. So I sort of added it in as if it's like something perpetual in the world.
Yeah.
And it's tracked onto them, onto my
right.
group. So that they were quite interested in that.
Yeah, same thing happened. The first time that our players went to the Shucked Oyster, they gave Madame Vice like a beer that put her under like some sort of charm or mind control. And so then they're like, okay, take me to your secret room, knowing nothing about it. And she's like, okay, so takes her to the office, opens the door to the basement, and then they just caved her head in from behind and threw her in a trunk. And then the building burns down and everything like that. And then they come back like a couple sessions later, and she's just out smoking on the porch, just nonchalantly like, yeah, Madame Vice is on the porch. She's smoking. They're like, wait, what?
Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the whole premise of the book is amazing, I think. Because like, again, it's not an adventure book. It is a location, but there is adventures connected to it. And you have a lot of great hooks in here as well.
Sure.
Yeah. That's
lots of interesting NPCs you can plug throughout the whole city or town, wherever you're dealing with it,
Well, this was something we had been thinking about, and we eventually made a video on once we went full steam ahead on the Shucked Oyster, which is, when you read most source books or most modules, adventure books, what have you, it is some sort of linear plot. whether you get involved or not, there's a sequence of events. You can either do it or or you can ignore it.
Yeah.
And this really puts a GM in a rough spot. It's just, it doesn't feel good, even if you're interested in the premise.
Yeah.
And of course, our channel is called Black Lodge Games. We're big fans of David Lynch and big fans of Twin Peaks. And the way that show, and a lot of other shows, but Twin Peaks is the best example, just introduces all of these different characters who are not tied together necessarily in a linear novelization framework. If you're someone coming in from the outside to Twin Peaks, whatever you do, you stay more than 48 hours in the place, and you are going to get caught up in some kind of mystery, some kind of drama, whether it involves, continuing the Twin Peaks example, Laura Palmer or not. Something interesting is going to happen, whether you love, hate, or try to ignore these people. And we really wanted to put that kind of a framework into a role-playing game product, because I think that's much more natural for how a game is played. And it's a much more appropriate way to present drama, story hooks, NPCs, because ultimately, as we all know, the players can and will do literally anything when they come to a location. And of course, add on top of that the uncertainty of dice rolls. There's no way to enforce a kind of plot with rising action or falling action, or a determined set of events. We go from encounter A at site B, and then we go to the next one, and then we go to the next one.
Right. Anything
could happen in any order or not happen. Right. So this is a much better way to bring things together, and it really, especially with the Shucked Oyster, it just expands and literally explodes and catches fire again and again and again and again.
And the players are like, what is going on here? I don't understand how does this keep coming back every couple sessions or whatever.
That's why they have
or in my case,
keep
like I had it in a different location. Like, how's this here? What's going on? Oh, she was dead. I don't understand. And then this will make the players engage automatically.
They won't be able to ignore it.
Yeah, without you saying, okay, here you go. You're walking into town, a bunch of guards grab you, and now you're meeting with the mayor for some reason.
Right. Exactly.
Which does happen in games. You kind of get escorted or put into a situation where, but this is natural. The players can choose to not look at it.
Yeah, they can choose to completely ignore it. And over time, they probably won't, because there's just too much weirdness going on that's going to pique their interest. And that's kind of the point. But it's, like you said, it's a much more natural, that structure is much more of a fit for a role-playing game, because the fun in role-playing games, there's multiple things that generate the fun. But one of them that's kind of the baseline that you need for anything, whether you're doing an immersive game or doing more of a war game type thing, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is that there are consequences in the world, and that players can make choices, and those choices have consequences. And so often in modern role-playing games and adventure paths, your character choices don't matter that much. And players, unfortunately, have really been kind of trained to just be like, okay, what's the DM going to give us next? And Shadowdark especially is kind of the breath of fresh air for the disaffected 5e players and GMs, because it's totally the opposite of that. It's an old school sandbox style game where you basically, the story is going to come out of what you do in play. And so this was the perfect kind of fit for that, where we could take this game that's very focused on doing dungeon delves and things and keep the focus on that, but also have this element of taking the town where you're going back to resupply and spend your money carousing, to make that more interesting as well, and to make the world kind of come to life, and in the Shucked Oyster's case, come to life in a very surreal and bizarre way.
That's one thing I was going to say about the carousing as well. That's one of the great things about Shadowdark, and more people are starting to realize it and implement it in the stuff they've put into their own modules or their own supplements. Because you can do pretty much anything, and it's just going to add new ways for the players to engage with the world. And in this case, it's going to add stuff to the cities or towns, instead of just being about a dungeon delving game, because that's kind of originally what it really is, dungeon delving game.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are adding that and expanding upon it, and I think it's doing something different in several different aspects, which a lot of gamers have never played, because they've just been playing 5e since 2014, so 10 plus years. And a lot of people in this sort of hobby space, they've only come into it in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like
and that's
the first
been
game
the
I
heaviest
played,
point of the kind of story path.
like the first game I played was 4e, everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just dropped off at 4e. And then some people moved on to Pathfinder. We actually played 4e and Pathfinder at the same time. So yeah, it's just bringing back the old school feel with some modern, more modern mechanics, simple layout, and easy to understand. And it's I think it's just brilliant. And like you said, your book that you've created, it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think everyone who's playing Shadowdark, I think everyone who's playing Shadowdark should pick it up, just because it's a great tool.
We think so as
well.
Yeah,
and
you might use it for a few weeks, or you might use it day one you get it.
I know, that's the thing. It really kind of
Yeah.
depends. And
emergent gameplay.
Yeah, it's emergent gameplay, and again, it's not the thing where it's like, if they don't bite on it, and we say this in the book, like, don't expect your players to bite every single baited hook that you put out there.
Right.
Eventually, they're going to come up with, they'll come across something they do become interested in. But there's a lot of things where if you run into someone, even if you kind of ignore them, they become interested in you. So it gives the GM something to actually lock on with. And like, if you help some character or hurt another one, you're stepping on someone else's toes without really knowing it. So it allows the GM to come in and bring some more interesting things in, and mess with the players. So it kind of ends up drawing them back. It's we're immensely proud of it, and that's where BloodMoor came from. Was that we wrote this chapter at the end of the Shucked Oyster called Further Adventures, because it was like, we've got so many more ideas for this, but they're outside of the scope of the Shucked Oyster itself. And so we just kept thinking about it and getting more and more ideas. And we couldn't, once again, we couldn't. It had to be done. It had to be done.
the mind starts to focus more and more on the weird and wacky, but still like it's not just weird and wacky. It's also the horror aspects, which makes it serious within the wackiness.
Right.
That's how I feel about things.
That's the thing, is like, it is very silly. There's some, we laughed like harder than you can believe writing it, but there's an actual kind of emotional core to it. And there's some very serious and very dark stuff going on. And so similarly, that's what's happening in the world of BloodMoor, is that it is this very bizarre and surreal place full of really like just lunatic characters, lunatic rulers of these countries. But there is a lot more under the surface, and there's the potential to have those darker, more kind of impactful stories with it as well.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask you. How did the Shucked Oyster then develop into BloodMoor?
Well, we have, of course, a character in the Shucked Oyster called Mungo Borlov. He is sort of he cuts an imposing figure over the oyster itself, and over a lot of what's going on sort of behind the scenes, whether the players know it or not. He's an important guy. He's a very
powerful
old dude who's seen a lot, done a lot, and has intentions of doing a lot more in the future. And similarly to how the Shucked Oyster, it's a location, right? And it's very character focused. And how we wrote the Shucked Oyster is just continuing to ask the questions: what could happen if these people are interacting? Mungo Borlov is one of the most larger than life characters. He has a lot more going on, and he grew, as he really should, into something that couldn't be contained within the Shucked Oyster itself. And so we hint in the Further Adventures chapter, Mungo is an eccentric aristocrat from the nearby mountains.
Yeah.
He has some
Definitely
domestic,
not a vampire.
Definitely not a vampire.
Yeah.
Totally
he
not
has some
Dracula.
domestic problems going on. And that led to us shifting focus from the oyster itself, one location, to let's turn the camera towards him and sort of expand out. And the further you expand out, if this guy is around, the people he has interacted with, the world gets way more crazy, way more eccentric, way more bizarre.
Yeah.
And this has spun to taking the same dynamic and the same sort of intention of the Shucked Oyster, and let's scale it up from a location that exists in a town to an entire campaign setting, an entire world, essentially.
Yeah.
And
there's like if you scroll up, there should be a large world map where there's like 10 different countries. And it's a little hard to see on here, but the map is going to be printed on the interior cover of the book. This world map. Each of these countries is huge. Like BloodMoor itself, we have the country map for that. Each one will get their own full map for their own chapter with points of interest and things like that. Tons of adventure seeds. But it's like 12,000 square miles almost. BloodMoor itself, just that one country. Yeah, it's almost 400 hexes. And so you can do an entire campaign in a single region, but each region, just like the Shucked Oyster, has all these connections to other places and to other characters. There's going to be seeds of adventures to take you to other places in the world and to venture out and travel to those places and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so you can get a very wide range of different kind of themes going on, because each land we've set up to be instantly identifiable. BloodMoor, this is Dracula land. This is Transylvania. And this is where the vampires rule. And there's to the south of that, Gorgavale, which is like heavy metal album cover land. It's run by an insane lich. The physics of the place have been totally screwed up because of all of his magical experimentation. So it's kind of like the zone from Stalker. To the east of that, to the west of that. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. And that character is so funny. He's I think his name is Cadavra.
Cadavra.
Yeah. He's so great.
I love the way you guys name things, because they're always smart.
The names are super important.
They're like it's not some random gobbled together words that like Sephiroth or whatever.
Yeah.
It actually it has some sort of meaning behind the naming.
Yeah, we want you to get it.
We want you to get it immediately, because there's a lot. Each of the characters in the Shucked Oyster has a fairly substantial write-up, and there's a lot of information in there. But if you just read the first paragraph or so about the character and you read their name, you instantly get how this person should probably be role-played. Like it's like Barnaby Fumblebutter.
You get it immediately.
This is a nice, jolly guy. Mondopoulos Gangler. I wonder what he is.
Right.
These sorts of things. And so we wanted to do that on the country level as well, so you instantly know what the vibe of the place is.
Right.
So like Wraithholm to the west of BloodMoor and Gorgavale is much more like this kind of dark Arthurian land, where it's ruled over by Sir Lucan Maldroth, the Death Knight. And he's a usurper. And so there's already some political intrigue that can go on there, because one of the playable factions, the Order of the Wilted Rose, they're people from Wraithholm who want to restore the old lineage and get rid of the usurper. And so there's already kind of a political intrigue baked in there. But all of the details of the usurpation are hidden behind the other characters and the different relationships. And it's very, very funny what's going on. But there's also a lot of serious stuff going on with that as well. We've also got Fleischland, which is the body horror kind of Frankenstein land. The capital city is Cronenberg. No relation to David Cronenberg, obviously.
Yes, that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, we've got the country of Mirthgrieve, which is like the kind of like the labyrinth, like the Goblin Kingdom.
Yeah.
And
inscrutable hedge mazes, goblin carnivals, marketplaces,
Right.
strange fairy bullshit going on.
Yeah.
But always
heard-
a lot
I
of
heard
fun.
you
At
guys
least
talk
from
about
their
that before.
perspective.
Yeah, I heard you guys talk about that before, and how I run my goblins in my game. I always describe them as they're a mix between, think of the labyrinth, like
Mhm.
goblins and sort of orcs they have in there, and Lord of the Rings. Somewhere between, they're vicious looking, but they're still a bit stupid and wacky looking. That's how I
Yeah.
always describe them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're very focused on having fun. That's kind of their primary value. And of course, the form that takes can be quite horrific and brutal from the perspective of a normal person. But it provides a lot of conflict. And the Goblin King is a great character, and he can kind of show up anywhere. He can like step through mirrors and things like that. And so he's constantly bothering the other rulers of these lands. The Moon Sun Desert in the south is sword and sorcery land. This is Conan land, so you've got evil wizards, you have barbarian thieves, warlords, weird
strange monstrosities.
Yeah. There's a city in the Moon Sun Desert known as the Hidiopolis.
Yes, Hidiopolis.
That is ruled over by the creature.
All the freaks and
all the freaks and weirdos live there.
Awesome.
And then up in the north, we have a couple of different countries as well. We have Sable Moon Glens, which is Goth Lothlorien, as you described it. Yeah, it's a land
of sorrow, melodrama all the time.
Yeah, it's like
where it rains black water,
right,
and your mascara runs forever.
Even if you're not wearing mascara, it looks as though your mascara is running.
Exactly.
All the goth girls are from there. I'm taking it. Yeah,
that's right.
And then to the east of that is the Cold Place, and this is really more of like this brutal, very it's like Russian folklore, like witches out in there. It's ruled by not Baba Yaga, but by Babushka Yaya.
Yeah,
which some people may get the reference there, but it's almost it's really more of like a very scary wilderness place. It does have connections to the other areas, but this is like kind of its own thing, where not even Mungo Borlov's really got designs on this place because it's old. And then the Black Sea, of course, is massive and has pirates and
strange whales and other inscrutable creatures living in the deep, trawled and prawled by the Whaling Guild and also the Black Sea Pirates.
Right.
What was the name of have we named the Pirate King?
I think we have, but his name is escaping me at the moment. Yes. But there is a Pirate King, but he's a little bit more like a New England fisherman. Or right.
He looks like Willem Dafoe in the Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay, I like that even more now.
Yeah, he's got this massive ship.
Right, yeah, the Leviathan.
Yeah, the Leviathan. And
which of course has a lighthouse on it.
Right, one of its masts is a lighthouse. That's how big this thing is. And so it's like a mobile mega dungeon, which will not be mapped. We're not that would be a separate
thing,
separate product and deep dive we'd have to do.
Yeah.
But because
a mega dungeon would take a whole book to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so this is the whole thing, is that we're just giving you this massive play space with a bunch of really bizarre factions that are all in conflict with each other. And there's kind of major conflicts that are brewing that you can kind of set off or even prevent. It's up to you. But as you kind of go through the different countries, we have all of the points of interest that we're coming up with on those hex maps. But you're also supposed to be using, this is a Shadowdark game, so you're supposed to be using the wilderness crawling rules for Shadowdark. So you're going to find things that aren't on the map. There's a lot of blank space, and that's good. We want to give you enough to really give you, this is the strong vibe of this place. This is what it's like, and then you go fill it out. It's like everybody's BloodMoor is going to end up different than everyone else's BloodMoor.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that because this there's something here for everyone. Like,
yeah.
maybe you want to go piratey stuff. You want to go
Yeah.
in like sword and sorcery land. You want to have like horrific beasts and monsters or weird goblin creatures going around. There's something
Mhm.
here for everyone. It's kind of crazy. I'm just have my mouth open. Like, what the fuck? How did you guys
Yeah.
come up with all this and put it into a book?
It just
Just
can't
happen.
stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
once we get cooking on an idea, it just pours out.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's incredible. It's going to be an awesome setting, and the book itself is also going to be really good because previously we've been doing like print on demand through Drive-Thru RPG,
Yeah.
and it's a great service. Like we're always going to be selling stuff there, but for this we really wanted to. The economics of it didn't really make any sense anymore. Like Drive-Thru's print costs went up on black and white books like more than 50%. So we were just like, let's find an offset. Let's find a way to do an offset print run, a high quality premium book that has a sewn binding. You know, this is going to last a very, very long time. And we were able to find a printer in the United States that can actually print that. So we're not going to be subject to, you know, the tariff situation, however that develops, which seems to change every week. You know, so we're not dealing with that sort of uncertainty.
I find it kind of funny in a way, because like it's all about trying to get tariffs down across the board for everyone. At the end of the day, that's what it's really about, you know.
Yeah, I think it is
a bit more equality.
Yeah, but it's like we just, in terms of making a product, it's right now it sounds a little too uncertain. Yeah, it's just like we got to wait for the dust to clear on that. But that did end up having us looking more inside the United States, and we found a really good printer. They've done some RPG books in the past. We vetted them a little bit, and we talked to some people that have worked with them, and they all said that they were wonderful to work with, and they've been very, very good. Awesome. But that also means that we're not going to have to, once the books are printed, we're not going to have to ship them overseas to get them here. Where everyone who backs in the United States, the printer themselves are going to individually package those and send those out to people. And then because they have warehousing facilities and it's really impressive. It's great. But we'll also be shipping to people around the world as well. Now, shipping outside of the United States is going to be more expensive. We have an estimate at the bottom of the page, but just know if you're not in the United States, it's going to cost more. there's nothing we can do about. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. But we're also we have the Kickstarter just launched their pledge manager as well. So in terms of like value added tax and everything like that, that is actually going to be charged through the pledge manager. And Kickstarter is collecting that and remitting it to all the agencies. It's actually, it sounds amazing. Like it's
a much better experience for the customer.
For the customer and for us, to be honest, like for everybody, they've managed to
shipping outside of the US is pretty normal shipping here. Like that's because like that's gonna, like, if it's $35, that works to be like €28 for me.
Yeah,
so
and
that's actually cheaper in a lot of places.
Right.
And again, so.
Yeah, this is an estimate because it's going to be based on the dimensions of the package, the weight, the shipping rates, everything like that. So that may change. We're trying to be
so that's
as
why you give the
upfront as we
estimate
can.
between $35 to $45.
Right, exactly. And if and again, we don't have any control over it. Unfortunately, we would like to have for it to not cost anything, but we can't do that. But
we'll charge shipping. Fairyland.
Yeah, exactly. We'll charge shipping after the campaign is finished, when it's closer to time to actually fulfill the campaign. That's pretty standard, I think, across the board. That's also when you'll do they'll collect either sales tax or value added tax. But we've also got a couple of things in here as well. So we have the hardcover of the book, and like I said, we're going to have the maps printed on the interior covers, and there's going to be information on the back covers as well. But we've got 2 adventure zines. And if you see here this picture.
Yes.
This final art.
Is that the Leech Man, or is it?
This is the Leech Man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it says "Behold the Leech Man." I read it as I was speaking.
Yeah. So this is not simply a monster that you can fight. This is a new playable species. This is a new ancestry in BloodMoor that you can be. And a lot of the Leechmen work for Mungo Borlov as his blood tax collectors. Because he's, if you're in BloodMoor and you don't have your jar of blood, you don't have your jar of blood to give to the Leechmen, you're gonna be in trouble.
Going to jail.
You're going to jail, blood jail. Yeah. Awesome. And beneath that, we have Out of the Black Sea. The fishmen. Yeah. This is they're known as the most beautiful people in the land because of the
Rightfully
scintillating
so.
scales, and they're many of them obviously tend to align with the Whaling Guild, but you can play anything that you want. And so we've got 10-player factions that you can join. You can mix and match them within the party, or you can do we're just doing the Whaling Guild, or we're just doing the Blackstone Bank, or something like that if you want to do a more focused thing. But there's potential for all sorts of adventures,
all kinds of things.
Yeah, and those the faction hooks are going to they'll be integrated in the random encounter tables. One of the dungeon adventures that we have to go along with this, because we have some zines as well, 2 adventure zines that are going to you have the opportunity to get with this. They're set in different countries, and they have hooks to a bunch of different factions within them. And so if you're a part of those factions, this can be very beneficial because it can help you with your advancement path. But they're also just really interesting story hooks to get you with new enemies and new allies and things like that.
Yeah, that's something I really liked with Shucked Oyster is the hooks, which some books do have hooks and they're very kind of bland, but the ones you had in here are obviously very themed with the world and the Shucked Oyster. And I'm going to assume it's the same with BloodMoor for obvious reasons. It's a very different kind of place to other settings and books that are out there.
Most people include plot hooks as what if ideas that are completely divorced from the tone or the context of the setting. And we work really hard with the Shucked Oyster to make it as certain as we could that despite all the surreal bizarreness going on, these wacky characters, you were going to feel palpably anchored to this world and to these people. And that's exactly the same way we're approaching BloodMoor. But again, like I said, at a higher scale, because all of these legendary monsters, these big bombastic characters like Mungo Borlov, Sir Lucan Maladrov, Cadavra, the Banshee Queen, Velinara Shadowmoon, all these guys and gals all know each other, and they have rivalries, alliances, friendships, pettinesses, all vendettas. Of these different very emotional, very understandable connections.
Yeah.
And those plots, those things going on, define and dictate in large part how they rule their country.
Yeah.
And so the jealousies of Mungo's 3 brides against a number of different people, not least of which Mungo himself, that trickles down to how the regular folk in town also experience their own lives with each other. But living in BloodMoor, what does someone in BloodMoor think about Wraithholm and vice versa? So you're going to feel a connection to a world and to a place, no matter who you get involved with, no matter where your players go. And all of these story hooks, all of these through lines and plot lines are tied into this web of believable, resonant intrigue that's going on.
Because that's the thing. It's like it's very easy in a campaign setting to go way too deep and detailed on lore and facts and history
in the year 4782.
Yeah, it's like
this thing happened.
That's not what matters for playing a game. What matters is the motivations of the people. And the best way to write characters, your antagonists, is basically to have them have very human motivations, very understandable motivations, because that can give rise to complexity and complex things. But a lot of the world works on high school drama. It's people, leaders of countries, they feel insulted by someone and now they have a grudge.
Yep.
And that's really as far as it goes.
Yep. And we see that in the real world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see that in the real world.
That's the kind of stuff we focus on, is everything is immediately understandable and immediately usable. And so, this is the country of BloodMoor.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you talked about, I've seen some of your other like talks and interviews with people, and you have like each country, you're gonna have like a zoomed in map for a bit more detail.
That's right.
For what's going on, which is crazy as well, because you not only have this big, huge map, you have the countries themselves zoomed in, so you can get into a bit more detail, and you can see like, oh, on this hex there's going to be something here, and obviously when you're traveling, you're going to use the Shadowdark procedures to then create more stuff and have events happen. And people also, these are 6 mile hexes, are they?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty big.
People need to remember, I always say this, is when you're going into a hex, it's 6 miles. It's not just 6 miles in a straight line, but 6 miles from like corner to corner. And if you walk down you walked 6 miles in one direction, how much are you going to come across? And then you go 6 miles across the other direction, how much are you going to come across again? Like, each hex can be filled with more than one thing, which a lot of people do forget about.
Yeah, each hex is a 6 mile hex is something like 30 square miles, which is massive. Bigger than if you took Oblivion and Skyrim and put them into a single hex, you would still have empty space.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I always say. You need to think about the actual scale of 6 miles. They just think 6 miles is, oh yeah, walking here to there, that's it. But no, it's a huge space.
You think about 6 miles on the highway, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of new players also kind of fall into. I've found. But like that, I think that's crazy. And there's 10 countries, I think, is there?
Yeah, 10 countries, and there's a gigantic sea. The sea will have like encounters, because there's there will probably be points of interest, but they're probably going to be mobile. But each region is getting a map like this. So like I said, it's like, this is the type of thing where you can do a globe spanning thing. And there are we've talked about it on previous streams, there are actually means of getting around the world faster.
Yes.
Very dangerous and very costly to do so. But there are certain portals that will allow you to take shortcuts basically through reality to get around to different places. Those are very rare. And like I said, they're extremely dangerous. So it's like, you're going to risk, if you want to, move all the way across the map really quickly, you might have a TPK. It's like that's the level of danger you're going to have every single time you try to do that.
Yep.
But you can, each one of these places is so big and so kind of thematically its own thing that you can do a whole campaign there. And we're not including rules for domains or mass combat or anything like that. But like Alchemic Raker has Hellmarch, which is a fantastic and super, super easy way to include troops and mass combat and stuff like that. So if you want to go in that direction, and he's got more coming out on that. It's, I think, the first of 3 volumes. That will slot into this like perfectly.
Yeah, I'm going to pick that up soon as well myself. I'm waiting for
something really
good before I order in Kickstarter. I like to get physical stuff myself mostly, if I can.
We're buying a copy at North Texas RPG Con, because he's going to have a table there.
There's something about things being tangible, Yeah, it's just different.
It's so much better.
And also, I get
a lot of use out of PDFs.
PDFs can be more convenient.
Yeah, I get a lot of use out of them, but I prefer the book. I have Jean-Luc Picard syndrome. Like he lives in the 24th century, but he still reads Moby Dick out of a book instead of the iPad.
Yeah, this is awesome. I keep getting more and more blown away. It's kind of crazy.
It's going to be really amazing.
People are going to like it.
People, anyone who gets this is going to like it. Like they're, and there's a lower barrier here, because we knew with the Shucked Oyster that some people were just going to bounce off it because it's a brothel, which is totally fair. It's really not about a brothel.
We say it's not, but we do get it. We knew that was going to happen.
We knew that was going to happen.
However, but Ravenloft on bath salts.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of people are going to get on that. Exactly.
That sounds like a hellish good bad time. I don't know.
Yeah,
depends on your point of view.
It kind of is.
And other than the fact that we have like vampires and stuff like that, there's one similarity to Ravenloft. And here's the thing: neither of us have ever read Ravenloft,
and now we don't have to.
But your characters can end up in Bloodmoor from other campaign settings. Nick is actually his character in our Bloodmoor game right now is a conquistador from Earth, who got blasted by Aztec magic and sent through time and space, and is now in Bloodmoor. And so in the sense that, like, I think in Ravenloft people can get sucked into the, you know, this dimension, that's the same thing that can happen here, but for an actual reason.
Oh yes,
there is
a reason.
Yeah, for the we did say how, you know, deep lore can get so distracting and it's useless to the game. For those of you out there that like deep lore, we do have deep lore here. That will be very, very fun.
If you want to dig into that,
if you want to dig into it,
really plumb the mysteries,
right? It is there.
They're all here.
There's reasons for why people and their gods get pulled into the world of Bloodmoor, and it's basically a one-way ticket from the way we write it.
Bloodmoor, you know,
nice.
Mungo Borloff is old as hell.
Bloodmoor's
way
older. Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff, like you mentioned, the means of quote unquote fast travel, the moon doors,
right,
are older, much older
than anyone.
Mungo Borloff.
Yeah, so it's the type of thing where, like, the ancient lore, nobody in this setting who is alive right now or unalive, if you're a vampire, none of them have any connection to it.
Right.
Like, it's so old, but the things that are there from the old lore affect the world, and your players can slowly kind of unravel bits of that as time goes on.
Because I remember you talking about this a few times about how players can be transported into it, which I thought was an absolutely brilliant idea. Because if you're players or you're a GM, you want to do this and go into this world and do an adventure, and you don't want to start off with level 1 characters again. Maybe your characters are level 3 or level 4, and they want to do something different. They can just get sucked into here, end up in one of the countries. Maybe they decide, like, beforehand what country they want to end up in, or either roll a d10 and see what country you land in. You know? Yep. So I think that was a super smart decision to make. And it makes it player and GM friendly, where you can test it out and see if you like it and continue on from there.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said, like, if it's your book, so if you're the GM, you can have a pathway back to your world if you want. The way that we're presenting it, though, it's a one-way ticket. Once you go to Bloodmoor, you're stuck.
That's
DM discretion.
But it's a lot of fun because you can bring in elements of other settings and other things into this world.
Right.
That allows it to make sense without it being a kitchen sink for no reason. You know, that's the thing, is like when you have like cow people, but there's also robots and stuff like that, where I'm thinking of a specific game at the moment, but you look at this stuff and it's just like none of this gels together at all, and most of the time that doesn't work. And there is a big theme here of this is Monsterland. You know, this is horror, gothic horror Monsterland that has all of these variations within it. But if you need to bring those things in, you actually have a reason for why they clash together. And since everything clashes with everything in this setting, it actually works.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, since you did create that way for things to be sucked into the world, having something that doesn't really mesh makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, because like they got sucked in here. Maybe something else that's even weirder from where we came got sucked in. So, but then, like you said, you could have robots going around or something.
or you can use
pretty awesome.
Like we've been talking to Victor Gorchev a lot because he did Blacklight for Shadowdark, which is I think
I love his work.
Pretty close for a work. Yeah, pretty close for a work in progress coming soon. I won't speak for Victor, but his whole thing is that's a modern day setting where you can portal to different dimensions, like Stargate almost, and bring modern weaponry and fight fantasy monsters and do the kind of the SCP Foundation stuff. And so it's like I think Blacklight obviously is operating in Bloodmoor somewhere. You know, has its fingers here, and you can absolutely do that. And Victor has, of course, said when Bloodmoor's out, he's going to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, because I remember I looked at his Kickstarter, done a little video on it, and like I talked about, like, you can pretty much do anything with that. If you want it, you could play like an X-Files type game. You can do Stargate. You could do Stranger Things. And then that would work with this, like you said, as well. Not only because the way you've implemented your book, but the way he's working on his book, you're going to go to different places in other worlds. So maybe in his book, you have direct access
Right.
with less risk.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's
Exactly.
pretty cool. And if you want to have
And
guns and RPGs, go ahead.
yeah.
Have a tank rolling down the street.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, an APC
Yeah,
rolls
and
up and a
also,
bunch of guys with machine guns drop
yeah.
out. Mhm.
And you have 2 zines along with this module.
Yeah.
Zines.
Yep.
So these are
Two dungeon zines.
2 dungeon zines. So the first
nice.
one, the Laboratory of Sublime Ascension, takes place in Fleischland, and there's basically the premise is that there are these 2 mad wizards who were trying to create the ultimate goo, you know, the ultimate disgusting goo monster they could. But being madmen, they had theoretical disputes that they could not resolve. So one of them killed the other. And then a bunch of monsters moved in and killed the other one. And so their ghosts are there, and they're trying to get you to do something for them. And it's an adventure that is like kind of like the Shucked Oyster. It's not going to end, you know, when you clear the dungeon. There's more to it.
Yeah.
There's a potential to having to delve this place again, and even if you don't delve it, things are going to happen to you or around you. There's going to be a third party that you're not even aware of whose toes you're stepping on by doing this. And so, and that one does have the potential for 2 legendary monsters, new legendary monsters. One of them pictured there on the cover is the gelatinous tesseract, but also the recursive slime. And it's potential that you could run into these things at some point.
Run into these things.
Yeah.
Make these things. It is possible that you make things, your players make things very difficult for for the deities in this world by introducing something that shouldn't be at their power level.
Yeah.
But is now.
Yeah. And so these are going to be like probably in the 25 to 40 page range. It kind of depends just on the art and how well we do, because if we really blow this thing out of the water and we have a bunch of extra money, we're definitely going to get more art for everything.
Oh, of course.
But the next one,
when you've done the Shucked Oyster, when you've done the Shucked Oyster, I don't think you were expecting to do as good as it did.
Yeah, I mean, we tried our best to hype it up beforehand, and it was an absolutely smashing success for us. Yeah, it did really, really well. We were very, very happy with that, and we love our customers and our backers, and we thank you so much to everyone who backed that. The next one,
and the second module here,
the Patrician of the Wraithlands. This cover is done. Both of these covers were done by Patty's Parlor, and this one is a little different. Nick,
it's more of a. So this takes place in Wraithholm. In Wraithholm, there's a lot of cloak and dagger politics going on with these obviously groundless rumors of Sir Lugan Maladroth being a usurper.
Yeah.
And other things. People jockeying for favor and for power. Wraithholm is very hierarchical, and people are jockeying for position, military power, and so this gets you involved in the politics and in the vibe of Wraithholm, of the sort of Roman-esque patrician style politicking and cloak and dagger intrigue. So this dungeon takes place in a family mausoleum of one of the noble families in Wraithholm who are tired of waiting. And of course, you wait in a world that is ruled by undead. You may have to wait a really, really long time to have your shot at the bat. But why wait when you can press fate and make things happen? So rather than waiting, this is my family mausoleum. 15 generations of some of the greatest minds and military commanders. So let's just wake up their ghosts and let's get this show on the road. So we have different ghosts of old noblemen of various persuasions and designs and opinions, inhabiting corpses, possessing animated suits of armor or other things, and there's the beginning of a grand conspiracy taking place in what seems to the average player character, it's just a tomb dungeon.
Yeah. And it is,
to be fair.
Yeah.
But you have mercenary bands of orcs or other beastmen, perhaps, because one of the ghosts may be impersonating one of them to start a false flag war against one of the other Wraithholm noblemen. So there's a lot going on here. This is a very intricate, multi-layered plan that these guys are trying, this family is trying to orchestrate, and you could really mess it up for them, or you could join them, or you may disrupt a portion of the plans, which actually spirals out of control and has a totally different thing happening in Wraithholm and totally change the dynamics of the region.
Yeah. And there's a kind of a third faction in there too that no one else knows what to do with yet.
No one expected. They are not part of the conspiracy.
Yeah. And so this is the type of thing, if you're familiar with any of the old Saltmarsh modules for AD&D, you can go through and you can just kill everything, take the treasure, and basically be done with it. There will be consequences because of that, but there's more going on there. There's more going on. So if you get in and you play smart, there's going to be some really interesting stuff happening. And both of these adventures are meant to spawn more adventures and go in different directions, take the game in an unexpected way. So it's not like, oh, well, we completed that plot line. That's over. It's whatever you do here, it's going to have consequences in your game. And it's going to spawn new and more interesting things happening.
That is one thing I was going to say as well. Like, you don't just have everything wrap up. There's consequences laid out that will happen. And that's going to keep the players even more engaged, and they can interact with that again. Or maybe they don't come across it for a while, and they come back to the region and like, what the hell's going on here?
Nothing in this world happens in isolation.
Yeah.
Everything has ripples.
That's also very difficult to do, but you're doing it.
Like it is, but the thing is, we're not planning what the effects of the ripples are. We give kind of an immediate like, okay, if they do this, then this might happen. But it's kind of up to you. It's to leave open these things so that the players, again, when they get hooked on something, and when players in the Shadowdark community's got this baked in now, like they know these are high agency games. Like that's the name of the game, is that it's a sandbox and you go and you do whatever. But when the players latch on to something that they've done in the world, where they've made some sort of an impact, it's like they've grabbed the tiger by the tail, and they're following it around, and that's what you want to do.
And also, this is going to be amazing if you have several gaming groups. You're all going to be interacting in the world, in completely different parts of the world, and that's going to affect other regions. Or maybe you have two people or two groups in the same region, and they're basically end up competing against each other, and they don't realize it.
Yeah, you can definitely can happen.
The consequences that they've made is going to affect another group. It's brilliant. It's not like designed this insanely well.
It's not like explicitly like we were thinking about, like, oh, this would be perfect for West Marches. It's just that if you give a detailed enough world with interesting factions, that makes for a good West Marches premise. Right. And so I think that I think anyone who backs this has probably already backed the Western Reaches Kickstarter from Kelsey. And I think that sort of guidance that she's going to have for running West Marches game will be totally applicable here as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, like, Shadowdark has just exploded in the last year.
It's deserved everything. Yeah, every bit of success it's gotten.
The convention we're going to after the Kickstarter launch, the day after the Kickstarter launch at North Texas RPG Con, has like a huge percentage of the games there that are being played and run are Shadowdark. Like it's being played everywhere, and it's being played a lot.
Yeah, isn't that like the second or third most played RPG at these conventions now? Just behind 5e and Pathfinder.
It might be. I think it kind of depends on the con, because each one
depends on the region.
Focuses on like North Texas. To be fair, it is an old school RPG focused con, but it's like every convention you go to has tons and tons. You will be able to get into a Shadowdark game.
I have to think about it is an indie game as well. It's not like a giant corporation that's created something.
Yeah.
No,
it's just Kelsey,
it's
her
Kelsey and her
wife,
wife, I think.
and
That's
a few
it.
people.
Yeah, and like a
They
couple
do
people
some
that
art
help
on the
them.
side. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I love it. Obviously, I love
Yeah,
it.
it's
I always
awesome.
talk about it. But
Yeah,
this
when she put up the Kickstarter, we saw the numbers of people who had pre-signed up. We're like, holy shit, she's making at least $1 million this time again.
Yeah.
And then she just, I think she did $1 million in the first day. Like it was nuts. And
I think it was
well
like the first
deserved.
20
She makes
hours.
really, really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying like I think this is going to get close to like 3 million, and it got like was it 2.3, 2.4 million, something like that.
Yeah.
So like something crazy. I think that woke up a lot of people, and it shut up all the haters, big time.
Oh yeah.
Who cares if it shut them up?
Cares?
Like I actually kind of don't want them to shut up. It's very funny to see them lose.
This is
but
I'm so excited for
also
this. I'm a little bit speechless.
I know they're great.
Yeah.
We've got
and
more
we have
too.
more. We have the Dampier. We have the Changeling. So there's
the Promethean.
Yeah, it's gonna say
Promethean.
classes as well, and ancestries, and
Yep.
The classes are going to be very fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have new moon magic spells because other we didn't mention that the moon is centrally important to BloodMoor. It's the only source of illumination. There is no sun. It varies its light output, through a day and night cycle, but it's always night. It's just daytime. It looks like a day for night shot in a TV show. Where they clearly shot this during the day and they put the blue filter over it.
Yeah.
That's what daylight is in BloodMoor. It's always dark.
But there's different faces of the moon.
Not
the moon
phases.
Literally has a face.
Yeah. A giant menacing face.
Which changes periodically, sometimes unexpectedly and chaotically.
And it affects different aspects of the world.
The moonlight and the moon vibes affect different people in different regions in different ways. So in a similar way to different things could be happening with the Shucked Oyster. It burns down. How does it burn down? Who gets blamed? There's causal effects depending upon which face of the moon is facing BloodMoor.
Right. And so the Moon Mage, we're still working on the magic system right now. So some of this might be subject to change, but excuse me. The faces, any given spell is going to be tied to a particular face of the moon, meaning that when that face of the moon is in play, you're going to be able to roll that your spellcasting check with advantage. But it's also going to have another face that it's keyed to that's its like opposite. And so if that face is in play, that spell is going to be rolled at disadvantage. And so
that's cool.
Like the moon magic stuff really kind of varies along with the changing of the moon. And people are, I think, probably going to become pretty fascinated with the moon at some point.
And who wouldn't be?
And who wouldn't be? But it has more effects outside of the moon, or outside of the moon mage class. It's got effects on the world itself.
When you said about the moon having faces, I instantly thought about that Legend of Zelda game.
That's the thing.
Yep.
Yeah. When we started playing, I
creepy smile looking down on you.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where everyone who's done any creative work has had this happen, where you come up with a really good idea and you're like, damn, this is good. And you start rolling with it. And then someone's like, oh, just like this thing. And you go, holy shit, that's where I got the idea from. Yeah. Like I was describing the moon's face and everything like that. And Nick was like, oh, you mean like Majora's Mask? And I was like, shit. I didn't come up with that. Yeah.
It's like every animated TV show having the Simpsons done it first.
Yeah, exactly.
The meme is true.
Yeah, the meme is true.
That's cool though. It sounds awesome. The way you're doing the magic sounds really interesting, and I think it's going to grab a lot of people because it's adding a little more interest and a little more complexity, but not being overly complex to the magic system.
Yeah.
So it's just something different, which people just like things that are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Oop, hit my mic. Sorry, but this sounds amazing. And you have the legendary creatures, one for each of the regions.
Yep.
And if you have to get the zines as well, you're going to have one from each of them.
Yeah,
So,
you'll have two
yeah.
from the Laboratory of
Wraith.
Sublime Ascension. The
Yeah.
the Wraith dungeon I don't think has a legendary monster, but it is tied to a legendary monster.
That is true.
That
Well, there you
lives in
go.
Wraithholm. That will be in the book. Yeah,
It's actually technically tied to 2.
to 2. Yeah, Luke and
when you think
Maldroth
about it,
and
something else.
We'll save that one for the book.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's pretty. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless actually.
Yeah, it's going to be really good, and
we're super excited about it. Like I said, people are going to like this.
People are really going to like this.
Yeah.
And as far as like the rewards go, we have digital versions of everything, physical versions of everything. And we've also got our previous books, The Shucked Oyster, which is compatible, deeply compatible with BloodMoor, because it's what spawned BloodMoor in the first place. And also Cults of Zahak, which is, if you play D100 games, this is has a new magic system, has a really incredible new adventure that's in like a kind of a vertical slice of a larger setting.
Yeah. Super detailed. Also, like what we're talking about here with drama, there's no through line plot, but there are so many characters, so many characters in that city adventure in Cults of Zahak. You could run an entire
campaign,
full campaign in that city.
It's that one. The Web of Intrigue has more than double the number of characters in it than the Shucked Oyster did.
Oh wow!
And some of them are more detailed. What's that?
That's for Mithras.
That's for Mithras.
Correct. Yep.
You can also run it with BRP. Basically, any D100 fantasy game rule set you can use, but. Yeah, Mithras Imperative is free, and that is what we built it off of. So it's very easy to just get that from Drive-Thru-RPG for the price of $0.
There you go.
But you can get those as like a digital bundle with the books, or you can get the physical versions of those. But those will not be part of the premium print run. Those are going to be fulfilled by Drive-Thru-RPG, and so there is. You have to pay to have it printed, and then the shipping on top of that. But that still ends up being a considerable discount off of the retail price of both of those products.
Correct, right.
And then down below you have a lot of interviews you've done with lots of great creators
on here as well,
which is awesome.
I spelled your channel name wrong on there, so I'll have to fix that.
Oh, no worries. Not a big deal. I'm just a little guy.
Yeah,
I'm just a little Irish guy down in the middle of nowhere.
I think we probably have your.
That's my Father O'Malley.
Shucked Oyster as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there you go. It's
awesome. There it is.
And so we anticipate we'll probably be delivering the book, the physical book, by the end of the year. This is our first time doing an offset print run, so there may be some hiccups there. We're not sure yet. We'll see when we get there, but. We have our 2 previous Kickstarters linked in there somewhere, and you can go and check those out, and you can see that we're very communicative. We do deliver on the products. So it will come out
and in a very timely manner.
Yeah. I mean, Shucked Oyster came out, I think the PDF was out like a month after the campaign or 2 weeks.
It was very fast.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks.
Very fast.
And then it took a little bit longer for the book. And then Cults of Zahak, our proof copy is in the mail right now to us, so we're waiting for that. The PDF was released to backers at least a month ago, and that one, once we have our proof and we approve it, people will be able to order their physical copies of that. And if you're going to North Texas RPG Con, if it arrives in time, we're hoping to have our proof copy there to be able to actually show to people. We won't be selling it there until our backers get it, but we may have an actual proof to look at. So we've got a lot of good stuff.
A bit of advertisement as well. So that's
yeah, exactly. Yep. And we're going to be running the Shucked Oyster at North Texas. Both of us, each is going to run a different version of that. We're going to be hyping up the Kickstarter. Kelsey's going to be there, so we're going to try to interview her. And we're going to Pulponic Press. There's Todd from Board Wars is going to be there. Everybody, Chubby Funster is going to be there as well. He's playing in your vampire game and my Shucked Oyster.
Nice.
Yeah, he's super pumped. He's
I
awesome.
love Chubby. I love his work. His books are amazing.
They're amazing. So good. Did you? Yeah, and he had an interview with McCreese last night.
I saw a bit of it live. I have to watch the rest of it later.
Yeah, the Arbiter of Worlds. It was really, really good.
Nice.
His books are so good. Chubby really, really knows what he's doing. So, but this is.
I'll be talking to Rob Alderman next week as well.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's
Nice.
pretty cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Fanboy.
Yeah. And so with the rewards as well, if you scroll down, if you just click on the rewards tab, it's like right under this. Yeah, that one. So this one, it'll also show you, we're kind of simplifying
it
like the
load in
add-ons.
preview, but it's on the side
interesting.
here.
It doesn't show it. Okay.
It's on the side.
Yeah. So we're keeping this as simple as possible. We don't want, like a million different combinations of add-ons. So basically it's like you can get the PDFs.
PDF.
Anything that has a physical product also comes with a PDF.
Yes.
But we've got different bundles for different things. So you can get, if you want the physical books, but then you only want the PDFs of Shucked Oyster and Cults, you can get that. If you want the physical of everything, you can get that. The only add-on that we have is to get an additional book for an additional BloodMoor book. So trying to keep the choices as comprehensive but simple as possible for people.
And these are very well priced as well.
I think so too. I mean, the amount of value you'll get for these is way more than what you're paying. The Shucked Oyster,
you're getting, like with here, it's like $125, but you're getting the Shucked Oyster, which has an ungodly amount of content.
Yeah.
Then you have the 2 zines, BloodMoor setting, and the Mitras book as well. That's a steal.
It is a steal. And again, with that tier, you do have to pay. It's probably like $15 or so to have Cults and Shucked Oyster printed outside of the pledge, but that's still an absolute steal. Like these our books are dense. They are packed to the gills with content, and it's all good and it's all usable.
Oh yeah, like there's nothing, like, again, just using the Shucked Oyster example, there's nothing in here that cannot be used pretty much for a couple of years, really, when you look at it, because you can always use the NPCs anywhere. You have a great adventure sort of hooks and ideas in here, and you're gonna have different groups of people playing as well, so you can redo things differently based on the groups of people you're doing it with. Lots of fun. And again,
that's the thing. If you run the Shucked Oyster with one group and then you run it with a different group, it's going to go so wildly different each time. So even as a game master, like, it is a very reusable product.
Oh yeah, because like, again, if you're a game master and you've played the same like adventure like 20 times, you know exactly what's going to happen when it's going to happen. The only difference might be when the players might interact with the adventure or the stage within it. And maybe every now and then you have a group that might wander off for a little bit and then they come back. But the way Shucked Oyster is designed, you can use it pretty much forever.
I mean, it's been in our campaign.
NPCs and ideas.
It took over our campaign for like 5 months, I think. It was crazy. Like it really was kind of the focus. There was a lot of other stuff going on with that, but the big core elements, and the reason they're in BloodMoor now is because of the Shucked Oyster. They fell down a bottomless pit, so now they're in BloodMoor.
I think like, it's, you guys are stupidly creative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Insanely stupidly creative.
Yeah,
and I actually love your style. I love your style because, again, it's wacky, it's silly, but there is absolute seriousness in the wackiness, which makes it interesting.
It makes it a lot more interesting. It makes it funnier too, because if you take it seriously, it's so much funnier. And on the other hand,
like straight faced about everything,
right? And on the other hand, it's like Cults of Zahak is a super different tone. It's really it is very serious, like deadly serious. There's a little bit. We have like just
a couple characters,
and a little bit
lighthearted,
and some more of the fun. But it's very, very different. So it's I think people are going to get really going to get a lot out of Cults as well for other games.
Yeah, as more people read that, I think they're going to be surprised. It's
We are insanely proud of both the Shucked Oyster and Cults of Zahak, and we will be insanely proud when BloodMoor is finished as well and in everyone's hands.
I'll probably have to. I think I might have to get Cults as well.
It's really good,
I don't play Mitras, so I'll check it out and see what it's like. So it's awesome. What's I say? I will obviously link in the description and in the pinned comment, as I always do, to your channel, to the Kickstarter page, to your X account, and anything else you want. But yeah,
We
this
appreciate
has
it.
been awesome. I also saw you on Northern Exile there the other day.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We
Yeah,
had
I
a
love
chat
him.
with
He's
him the other
great. Been
day.
watching him
Yeah,
for
he's
years.
great.
That was
man.
fun. He's fun to talk
Yeah.
to as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. But yeah, that's. I think that's it for the most part. Unless there's anything else you want to cover or throw in there.
I don't think so. Just
I think we.
if you're watching this, go get signed up. Click that, notify me
Yes.
when this project goes live. It goes live on
Tuesday,
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Yeah, Tuesday, June 3rd.
Nice.
We are going to be doing our traditional Kickstarter launch party where we get out the DJ equipment, we play a bunch of house and techno music for a couple hours, and watch the early returns on the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be answering questions there about BloodMoor as well. But it's really those first 2 days, they make or break a campaign. So help us make a splash. If you're interested in this, help us make a splash on day one.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's it really. That's been great. Thanks a million, guys. I absolutely, like I said before, I love watching you guys. I've been watching you guys, 2.5 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
And it's been absolutely cool.
We're glad you're making videos.
And thanks again for everyone checking the video. Like I said before, I'll link everything in the description and the pinned comment. And if you want to know anything, just leave a comment and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks again. I'll see you all again soon.